Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live stream AMA. My voice is like slightly sketchy still from being sick over the last week, but I'm feeling better. As of yesterday, I started to feel a lot better. So we're good. We're going to go through some stuff today, talk about yesterday's update, which is part of kind of like a bigger update that's coming, which I will speak to a little bit. The holiday season, we've got some fun stuff on the way. And then we always throw in a little of bigger picture stuff. So if you have any questions, throw them in the YouTube live chat or the Twitter live chat. Let's keep it farmer friendly. And we can bring up Luke.
Hey everybody, excited to be here today. And yeah, this is it's a pretty fun time for Pixels right now. We're about to start to shift into a new phase of growth. We have a few new things coming out, right? And we're also going to start to redirect focus towards core Pixels growth as well too. Not that we haven't been focused on growth, we've been focused more on making sure the game is in a good, stable space. The economics are lining up in the way that we want to. And core Pixels is kind of there now, which is super exciting. If you guys aren't landowners, which that's most of you watching the AMAs, we kind of dove really deep into this in the last landowner AMA, where we kind of described, where we think the game is at right now with the core game, what the plans are to do with it next. And I think today it'll be kind of interesting to dive into some of those insights on what we're thinking there as well. So yeah, obviously this AMA will be kind of standard also. We'll go into like all the normal questions that you guys might have, right? And then we'll also start to dive into like some of the bigger picture stuff too. So yeah, maybe I'll just give an overview again for the people who tune into these AMAs. Maybe we only follow casually on like what exactly we're working on at Pixels. Yesterday, for example, we made somewhat of like a teaser or a bigger announcement on what you can expect in the new year. And I'll kind of wrap that back into how that relates to everything that we're doing on core game as well. So what are we working on at Pixels, and what is the mission statement of Pixel ecosystem and the Pixel token? The Pixel token and the Pixel ecosystem is basically going and trying to solve out this concept of play to earn and rewarded play. And, rewarded play, how we like to view it is we kind of like to view play to earn like a new user acquisition engine, where the idea is instead of growing a game through completely traditional formats, what we want to do is we want to create a new way to grow games. So current way that the game grows is through traditional paid advertising, basically only. And there's a few different channels in traditional UA, right? You can go through Meta and run an ad on Meta, which would basically put an ad on Instagram or on Facebook. You can go through TikTok, which is a big channel now, YouTube and Google and YouTube Shorts. And you can also do things like UGC, which is a big new channel that's been blowing up lately. How UGC works is basically a brand will go and pay smaller creators, maybe like anywhere from $100 to like $500 typically is the going rate for a piece of content, with the hopes that they create a piece of content that might, blow up on the algorithms essentially. Now, what we're introducing here at Pixels with the idea of play to earn and reward to play is almost like a new ad format, where essentially instead of us paying Meta to go out and get a new user with the intention of basically acquiring a user for less than it cost to, or less than you want to acquire a user for less than the lifetime value of that user, just to go into the economics. So when you go and build like a game company, or really any company, there's a few things you look at. You look at the LTV, the lifetime value of a user, basically how much revenue does that user generate for the ecosystem, the company, or like the product in the long term. And that can be over the course of like years, essentially. And you look at something called like, CAC, customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost me as an ecosystem or a company to go and actually get that user into our ecosystem? So Web2 companies, what they do is just play this game of like basically optimizing their customer acquisition costs, trying to get that down as low as possible and increasing the LTV of the user. So basically trying to monetize revenue as much as possible. Now, what's interesting is this current system as it is very extractive in multiple senses, right? So the first layer of extraction actually happens from these ad networks. So what's interesting about these ad networks is you plug all of your tech into these ad networks, and they know how much money you make off of a user when you're an ecosystem or a game or a product, right? Because what you're trying to do when you're working with these ad platforms is you're trying to maximize these KPIs. So what these ad companies kind of have ended up doing is they become rent seekers, where any time that a game starts to monetize a little bit better, like they see an increase in their margins, the ad companies know they can charge even more for you to go and run an ad. And what's happened is it's kind of been moved to like a rate-based model, and it's super, super extractive on the company side. Now, because that's the case, these game companies, what they have to do is they have to go and make a game that also is extracting as much money out of the user as possible. And the system, it just leads to like a very negative feedback loop, right? Now, the alternative that we're trying to build out here is a new system that basically cuts out these advertisers completely. So what we can do ideally is basically, instead of spending money on an ad, the idea is, can we give this money directly to the consumer and still grow the ecosystem in a similar way, right? The ideal situation being that the customer acquisition cost is lower and there's a more fair share of value going between the product and ecosystem and the user, right? Now, this is a thing that will exist in 5 to 10 years. Like, some company will pull this off. And the opportunity here is absolutely massive. This can basically disrupt, most traditional UA methods if you pull it off. And that's kind of the goal of the Pixel ecosystem and the mission statement here. So everything that we're building towards Pixel, the token and the ecosystem, is with that mission in mind. Now, we have a couple of different pieces to make this work, right? We have our own first-party games. We have core Pixels, which we're learning so much from. And we have, new games coming out too, like Chubkins. And we also have ecosystem games, like Pixel Dungeons and Sleepygachi, for example. Now, how we can actually make a play-to-earn ecosystem work is we actually do need games in our ecosystem to be kind of like the test rabbits and to experiment with and to actually partner with our new UA engine. And what we announced yesterday was this new thing that we're working on, which if you follow these AMAs, you'll know that we've been working on this for a long time. We've been working on this for like over a year. And basically this new product that we're working on called Stacked is a culmination of all the tech that we've been building out for honestly like the last 2 to 3 years into one cohesive product. Stacked, essentially what it is just to give you the TLDR, a new play to earn platform. The most analogous thing in Web 2 that there is kind of like AppsFlyer. So essentially what Stacked is it's going to be an app that you as users go to every single day to see what rewards you might possibly be able to earn, right? You might see reward for our own games, our core games, but you also might even see rewards for playing Web 2 games in this app as well too. And what Stacked is trying to do is it's trying to be that platform and that backend that powers this new play to earn economy, essentially. This idea of giving rewards to users for the time and energy and effort that they put into playing games while still maintaining a profitable bottom line for the games to integrate it. There's a way to do this, and there's a way to actually pull this off, and it's very hard, but this is kind of the culmination of years of work for Pixels. So we're very excited. Stacked is going to be launching in early January. And what's cool about Stacked is there's already games using it inside of the ecosystem right now. It's getting used by core Pixels, Pixel Dungeons, and there's more games integrating at this very moment that are not even currently in the Pixel ecosystem that you haven't heard of. So yeah, when we think about the long term of the ecosystem, really, we're building something here that has pretty big potential, right? Like, I'm seeing people make comments on the token price, right? Luke, help keep Pixel token alive. What is this for a price? Look, we don't normally comment about price of tokens because, one, it's really important for an ecosystem to stay long term and to think about, actually building something of real value, right? And what I'll say is, Pixels in the short term is not going to think about price so much, right? The way to kind of get out of that trap of doing short-term things that might hype a token up for a little bit and get, a short-term attention is not really the right long-term path. Like, if you want to see a token succeed for years and years, like, truly what you have to do is you have to build something valuable and something that works, right? And we're still super bullish on Web3 models, incentive structures, play to earn, and what Web3 can do to bring access to amazing ecosystems to normal users. And what I'll say is, as we're building Stacked, as we're building everything else that we're doing, the Pixel token is still central to all of this, right? The Stacked app is like commissioned by the Pixel Foundation, right? And Stacked will even most likely be a part of the staking ecosystem in Pixels in the long run as well too. So there's really cool models that we'll dive into when it comes to staking and Stacked. Probably in future AMAs, we're probably not going to deep dive into it in this AMA, but essentially what I'll say is, at this point, I think Pixels has asymmetric upside, if I'm going to be like giving my own opinion. And obviously this is not investment advice. This is not, anything official, but, obviously as a core contributor to the Pixel ecosystem, I'm still here. I'm still shipping because I believe in what we're doing. And I believe that the opportunity is compelling and big enough. It is funny at this point because, I think there is there's a space-wide disinterest in tokens right now, right? And I think people have actually gotten overly bearish on tokens and ecosystems in general. And in order to break that bearish sentiment on tokens, what any ecosystem needs to do is they need to build something real that works, right? And it's not an easy process. It takes a lot of time to actually come to that and do that. So this is why we're super excited to actually get Stacked out into the hands of people. Stacked, the user acquisition and growth strategy will look a lot different than Core Pixels did originally, right? With Core Pixels, what we were trying to do was we were trying to only do Web3 native UA. And actually what we're thinking in the long term is we're probably gonna do a blended mix of traditional UA with Web3 native UA for Stacked, for Chupkins, and for Core Pixels in the long run. Now, we had an honest conversation about what Core Pixels looks like in its future with the landowners in the last landowner AMA, which I think that was a week ago, right? Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. And kind of what that needs to look like for Pixels is in, a pretty positive spot. I'm actually really, really happy with the developments on Core Pixels over the last couple of months when it comes to the economics of the game. And now what we need to focus on for Core Pixels is we need to focus on getting new users. So, if you look at the history of Pixels, what Pixels was focused on first was getting users, right? Kind of at any cost. We were focused on giving out token incentives for users across the broad range. We were focused on increasing DAU, and we did it in, a way that was getting more sustainable month on month, but ultimately an unsustainable way, right? If you look at the early days of Pixels, I think Pixels gave out, in the first month after TGE, I think we gave out like $7 million of rewards. I think we did like $3 million in revenue. And that gap has been closing in terms of real terms month on month. And finally, it's in a place where it's actually viable to go out and, grow the product too. So we talk about return on reward spend often in these AMAs, right? And return on reward spend is so important because it's the single metric that defines if a game is able to start to scale a user base. When return on reward spend is under 1, what happens is every time that we add a new user, it's actually a net negative for the ecosystem when it comes to like token emissions, right? And if we want to build an ecosystem that can help grow and support itself in a sustainable way, that return on reward spend metric is probably the single most important metric to look at for a Web3 game in the beginning stages, right? Our thesis was that we could kind of bootstrap the current audience that we had into a return on reward spend positive one. And the idea in the initial stages was bring in Web2 monetization techniques into Core Pixels. That's when we were doing things like events and gotchas and all of this stuff. And it was kind of working, but it never actually got us to the point that it needed to. Now, with new updates to the game, we're actually seeing really positive increases in these benchmarks that we needed to hit. And now we're actually at the stage where we can start to grow it again as well too. So the Core Pixel strategy is going to be really exciting in the next few months. What we're going to have to do is we're going to take the game and we're going to have to kind of reimagine what some of it looks like. So essentially the plan is, because the return on reward spend is looking positive now, the next stage of focus for Core Pixels is how do we start to grow the audience and user base again. And what we need to do is we need to address key faults with the current game right now. So I think the biggest issue with Core Pixels that we're seeing is new user retention and new user growth, right? So what we haven't seen in Core Pixels in a little bit is significant new user acquisition, right? And it's because we haven't been doing any advertising of Pixels, right? We haven't been telling new people about the game, and the player experience for new users is not good right now. I think everybody that plays the game knows this, where it's like, okay, even if I wanted to share Core Pixels with a friend, like it's kind of confusing for these friends. There's like a lot of hoops that needed to jump through to actually make the game good and interesting. Like, for example, the reputation inside of Pixels right now. There were reasons why we increased reputation requirements for things like adding access to the marketplace. But actually, reputation as this current system right now, I don't think is the right one to actually block and gate core features of the game. And it's actually hurting user growth, right? The most interesting parts of Pixels, if we start to like dial down like what made Pixels special and why users like it, is probably these three things. It's one, the real marketplace, right? So the fact that you have earnings attached into the core loop means that every single item inside of the core Pixels has, some kind of like proxy and quasi value to it, right? So that means when you're actually interacting in the marketplace, the decisions that you make inside of the Pixels marketplace actually have stakes associated with them, and you actually need to strategize. And there's actually like, interesting marketplace strategies when you start to play the game. The game's a resource collection and resource management game with, real stakes behind it, which is actually really interesting and a cool selling point to the game, right? Two, the thing that people really like about Pixels is the community that forms behind it, right? And that's something that Web3 really enables through the ability to kind of champion these micro communities. NFT collections like Subway Rats, Secret Society of Whales, Moku, all of that have found a home inside of Pixels. And, that's one of the best parts of Pixels, right? And then I would say three, the other interesting part of Pixels is like the earn aspect, right? The fact that there is a chance to earn inside of the game if you strategize and make good decisions. And that whole min-maxing flow has been like quite fun for people to figure out, right? So these are the three concepts that we kind of need to boil down into a better user experience for more people sooner when they start playing Pixels, right? And that's probably going to mean redesigning what the initial parts of the first time user experience inside of Pixels looks like. And this is a deeper mission than just changing how the tutorial works, right? It's bigger than just saying, oh, teach people how to play the game better. It might actually require like a redesign on some of the initial first parts of the whole game experience, and even boiling down and making some of the end game experience that we built out better to understand, have better strategy and all of this too. So as we're going into the new year, there's a few really exciting initiatives for Pixels. Again, the first being that Stacked is coming out. Now, Stacked is so interesting for core Pixels even because it's kind of a new way for us to give out earnings inside of the game that are more targeted to users who are more helpful and better to the ecosystem. And we can also do new user incentives in a much more sustainable and anti-fraud way as well too. So one of the hard problems to solve when you're building out a Web3 game with rewarded play and building out play to earn ecosystems is if you start to get incentives into a user's like earlier life cycle, right? When you don't know that much about a user, it's really easy to give out rewards to the wrong people, which tends to be bots, cyber attackers, and just farmers who have no intention of ever actually playing the game or contributing to the game and ecosystem. And what Stacked is actually really good at is it's good at identifying how to like see this fraud or the bad actors in the ecosystem, right? Now, common critique of Stacked or like this tech right now is that we're not giving out enough offers to people in core Pixels. That is something that we're addressing over the next couple of weeks. It's a process, right? But essentially what we're going to be doing is we're like kind of going more into offer design for Pixels. And we already have a lot of offers going out to certain subsets of users inside of the core game. What we've been doing is kind of secretly A/B testing a bunch of different offers with small segments and cohorts of users to see what offers work best inside the ecosystem. We're taking these lessons that we've learned with these small A/B tests, and we're going to start to roll them out to more users. This offer system we think is a lot better to actually go and, retain the best users inside the pixels, to acquire and give out incentives to new users without giving out too many rewards to the wrong users, and to actually give incentives and rewards to the right actions inside of the game too. So right now, the current earning system inside of Core Pixels is the task board, right? And there is some like smart task board stuff going on inside of the game and ecosystem. Like, your earnings inside of a task board can actually be a little bit variable based on the way that you play the game, right? But it's actually not a great system because it's also just one area of the game that we're incentivizing. And, actually, it's probably more important to be incentivizing a broad area of activity to help the economy of pixels flourish, right? And if we're only giving out earnings inside of task board, or through like certain like end game loops, it's not able to be appropriately targeted to the right users at the right time. And that's actually the key learning from what we've been seeing inside of building a play to earn game in order to have success in the game too. The analogy, again, if you've been following these AMAs, you probably have heard it a dozen times from me, is still kind of thinking about it through an ad framework, right? So if I was to run an ad on Pixels in Web 2 or in anything, if I was trying to find the cheapest ad that I could run, it would probably be putting up a billboard on a highway in Nebraska, right? Like Pixels could probably buy a billboard in Nebraska for $500, right? And
just for the bit.
yeah, it's not like a very smart advertisement, right? But it would be a cheap way to do it. And it's probably like the dumbest way to do it, right? So if I wanted to scale my advertising and user acquisition in Web 2, if I was being dumb about it, maybe I would build a bigger billboard, right? And I would spend a lot more money making this billboard bigger, so more people see this billboard in Nebraska, right? But it's not the right people probably, right? Like, are there people in Nebraska really the right people who want to be playing Pixels? Maybe not. So then maybe what I would say is like, oh, we'll just make a lot more billboards all over America, right? And even that's not the most efficient that we should be doing. Like what we actually should be doing if we're trying to advertise the game is we should be, trying to put billboards in the right areas in front of the right people, right? Or maybe not even a billboard. Maybe it's, if we had flyers, for example, we just send flyers to the people who are the most likely to actually like Pixels. And that would save us a lot of money, and that would be a much more effective user acquisition campaign. The same thing happens with play to earn rewards too, and why I don't think current questing systems right now have really worked. Basically, what questing systems do is they show the same reward to everybody. It's like putting a billboard in Nebraska, basically, where there's no common sense going on with like who you give rewards to. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up giving a lot of rewards to the wrong people who don't really want to play the game, or who don't really want to actually grow the ecosystem with you, right? So this is kind of the strategy change with Stacked, and even the strategy change that you're going to see inside of Core Pixels and in our new app that we're working on too, Chubkins. So yeah, Chubkins is going to be the first new app that fully integrates this new reward system that we're building out inside of the game, kind of from the ground up. And we've been learning so many lessons as we're developing Chubkins right now. Chubkins, if you guys don't know and you haven't been following, it's this new app that we're working on, and it will be launching in, it's currently in early access in the Google Play Store in certain geographies. The reason why it's not open to everybody yet is we're still trying to make the game feel better and do better. So right now, the game looks like this, right? You have a little capybara that you take care of, and there's no rewards inside of the game, and you have to take care of this capybara with another user. What we're going to do soon in the next update is even this early access app is getting a full redesign, and it's going to look completely different in the next update. This next update to the early access users will probably come out, early next week, most likely. And we're changing the monster type, we're changing the UI, and soon we're going to start to add in some of the rewarded play aspects. What we're trying to figure out with Chubkins is how do we make a game that appeals to a Web 2 audience that also still has the benefits of Web 3 without really being so upfront in their face about it. Because what we've learned as we're starting to do user acquisition with Chubkins through traditional UA methods is that whenever we talk about crypto, with a normal audience, it really turns them off. And it's interesting because when we actually talk about the benefits of crypto and Web3 and rewards, they love it. When actually crypto is mentioned, they hate it. And how we know this is basically we've been running paid advertisements, and these paid advertisements perform significantly worse when there's any mention of crypto, Pixel, Bitcoin, all of this. But whenever we mention rewards, whenever we mention that you can earn, people love it. So there's a lot of key insights that we've learned when it comes to growing Web3 games just through this, right? And that's just going to be the strategy for the ecosystem moving forward. What Stacked unlocks basically is it unlocks the ability to give out rewards to users without them even really knowing their crypto rewards at first, which is super exciting. So we can kind of do traditional UA with Stacked and retain them and keep them in the ecosystem and give the benefits of play to earn without them knowing on the initial stages. So that's a strategy with Chubkins, which we'll probably also borrow with Pixels. If we move more of the earnings inside of Pixels away from straight up task board to this smart offer system, then we can also do the same strategy with the core game as well, which means that we can start to acquire a Web2 audience or users who are maybe not as familiar with crypto, and they won't need to know anything about crypto to start playing the game and earning. They'll only need to know anything about crypto if they want to cash out with crypto, which will just be one of the options to cash out when they're starting to earn rewards. Now, what Stack does is basically centralizes all the earnings into one app so that anytime that we get a new user inside of the ecosystem, they will also see offers for all the other games as well. Let me show you. Let me see if I can pull this up really quickly and give you guys an example of Stacked.
I shared the screenshot that you posted on Twitter earlier.
Yeah. I'm going to pull it up
Is
right
it
now.
that one or something else? Something more, guys.
There's still a tiny bit of work to do here, but I'll just share it with you guys because I think it's interesting so you guys can kind of see. Yeah. So here's like a current dev build of Stacked. When I go into Stacked, maybe I'll have some offers that I've completed and I'll be able to claim my rewards. But Stacked, essentially, when you go into it, this will be kind of your dashboard for earning inside of Pixels, inside of Chubkins, and any other game inside of our ecosystem. You'll come here every single day to see what rewards that you have waiting for you and what tasks you might be able to do, right? So these are just a few like test examples, right? But expect this to be like your go-to app to kind of figure out what I should do every single day and how I might be able to earn. You'll be able to earn points, and these points will be able to be turned into Pixel or USDC in the long run. This system is super versatile. Inside of Stacked, we can give out any cryptocurrency if we want. So if we're working with a Web3 game, they can still give out their native reward currency. Like, for example, if we were to work with Axie Infinity, we could give AXS out, or we could give SLP out through the system. If we're working with Pixels, we can just give Pixel, or we can give this Web2 currency to users who are maybe a little more afraid of crypto, where they don't even need to know that they're earning a cryptocurrency. They earn a point currency that can be cashed out for gift cards or for crypto. So Stacked will also show you the opportunity to earn inside of any other games inside the Pixel ecosystem. For example, if somebody isn't playing Pixels and they come into Stacked, they'll see a bunch of different opportunities to earn inside of Pixels. And we'll also reward for other interesting things like creating content. So if you connect a TikTok, we're going to start to reward UGC creation as well inside of this ecosystem. So that's kind of the high level of what you can expect here. Stacked will have its own rewards just for being in Stacked. Like, for example, we'll give you daily login streaks if you come into Stacked every single day. If you come into Stacked every day, it's very beneficial for the Pixel ecosystem because we can show you Pixel offers inside of the ecosystem, right? So we want you checking this every day. We'll give you a few incentives to do that. And if you start completing Pixel tasks or Chubkins tasks or any other type of task, then what we have is we have offers that we're surfacing to users that are intended to be net positive for the ecosystem. If we are giving out Pixel, we're only going to give out these Pixel incentives mostly to users who we think will benefit the ecosystem. Now, there are a wide array of users who might benefit the Pixel ecosystem. For example, there are users who maybe don't have as much we call it like purchasing power, right? So users who are in countries like Southeast Asia, all of that too. What's cool about Stacked is we can actually change the requirements for each offer for different types of people, right? So for example, if you're in a country where, it's just not as easy to spend like $100 inside of a game, right? We don't have to give you an offer to spend $100 inside of a game, right? We might scale down that offer a little bit and make it much more achievable for different types of users, right? So that's some of the idea as well too. Like basically make it so that everything in your task board in Stack is achievable and possible to do based on user preferences, all of this kind of stuff. It's kind of like how in Steam, if you've ever been in Steam, you'll know that games cost different prices inside of Steam, right? If you're in Brazil, games are actually a lot cheaper inside of Steam than in the US. And it might seem unfair at first, but that's just kind of how the world works a little bit, right? Like, people in Brazil still love games and they can't maybe pay the same amount as somebody would in the US for a game. But, a lot of developers choose to still make their game accessible in other areas. And it becomes, more fair to like users at the end of the day through this kind of stuff. So, we've seen common criticisms with quest platforms or reward platforms inside of Web3 where you really alienate a bunch of audiences. If you are trying to build out targeted offers that maybe involve something like spend, where it just isn't realistic for somebody to spend $100, $1,000, right? You get like really weirdly whale oriented. And that's not the intention with this ecosystem. It's to kind of include as many people as we can and create different, compelling, interesting offers that will still lead to benefits to the ecosystem. Now, not every offer is related to spend. Like you see something here like first purchase bonus, right? But like there's also a lot of benefit to just having user bases inside of certain games too. Like for example, if Core Pixels only had whales inside of the game, there wouldn't be that many players inside of Core Pixels and everybody would have a worse experience, right? So there actually are benefits in Stacked of still offering incentives to come in and log in every single day, participate in the game mechanics, participate in things like doing the task board. So even if we remove rewards from the task board directly in the long run inside of Pixels, maybe what we'll do is we'll start to still throw in offers inside of Stacked that say, hey, go do 5 tasks today, go do 10 tasks today. And the idea is, one, we can also change the game loops and incentive structures so that we're not making people grind for no reason either. I feel like that's what Taskboard turned into for a little bit, where Taskboard just became some system that rewarded grinding for hours. And that's not really a good user experience for anybody, right? It's not good for the game if the game is, creating an incentive structure for somebody to grind for no reason. And it's not good for the user if they're grinding because they feel compelled to as well. So this is also part of the intention as well when we release Stacked for core game, for Chubkins, for anything else that we're doing. Like create reasonable offers that lead to outcomes that are positive for both the user and the ecosystem, and grow holistically as well. So again, it's not just pure monetization offers, because again, if we only incentivize whales inside of the game and ecosystem, it won't lead to DAU that might be needed to support the ecosystem. This is kind of the method that we're doing here. Now, how does this relate back to everything else that we're doing? Pixel Token, all of this too. So yeah, we will probably end up announcing like an overhaul of the staking ecosystem in the next month or so too. I'm still kind of iterating through what the best design like that is to do. But one core problem with the Pixel ecosystem with staking right now is there's really not that many Web3 games that we can be working with inside of the staking ecosystem, right? Think about how many games inside of Web3 at their current state are actually able to, one, like be sustainable. There's almost none. I think Axie Infinity is technically sustainable, where there's like net SLP burn at this point. Core Pixels now is technically sustainable, but most are not. So how do you actually create a system where when you start to give rewarded offers to users to make them like profitable, essentially? Now, why would you want a profitable offer and ecosystem for Pixel? Well, because we're going to integrate aspects of Stacked into the staking ecosystem, right? So that means anytime that Stacked creates a profitable offer for an ecosystem, Stacked expects to take a little bit of a rake from it, right? And we're still working on what that model looks like, but you can kind of picture it like more of an AppsFlyer model, right? So essentially how it's going to work is games that are partnering with us they're going to want to partner with Stacked because Stacked will help them get new users, monetize better, and basically help their ecosystem become more sustainable, right? And if we are offering a better alternative than what they currently have, we would hope that they have some of their reward spend coming through Stacked rather than their own native systems, right? This is quite hard and difficult to build. And we're offering something very valuable to these people, right? Now, this only works and this only is able to attract new games inside of Web3 and inside of Web2 if we actually have proof that this works. Now, there are some positive developments here where we actually do have proof that this works through our small A/B testing that we've done inside of Core Pixels, right? And this is the advantage of having first-party games inside of our ecosystem. Because we have Core Pixels, Pixel Dungeons, and Chubkins, we don't need to prove to anybody else that this works to get the inventory and to get the partners that we need for Stack to succeed, right? This is one issue that happens with a lot of the Quest systems out there right now. They have no games themselves, and they have to go and convince people to work with them, but actually their questing platforms don't even really work. They incentivize a bunch of farmed users like, Galaxy, and they're not leading to decent outcomes. Now, the issue is, in order to actually do the iteration and testing that you need to, the first party games in your ecosystem are so important because you need to be building with your own games at the beginning stages, right? If you're relying on another game or ecosystem to do the changes that you need in the beginning stages, you will probably never get to the point that you need to in order to actually grow your ecosystem and product and quest system, offer system, in a sustainable, profitable way, right? So that's where Pixels has really clear core advantages to other people inside of Web3 or anybody else trying to do this, right? We have our own first-party titles, Core Pixels and Chubkins and Pixel Dungeons, that we can actually go and experiment and iterate with, right? And all three of these games are already integrated into the system. And now that's where there's even more of an incentive for us to go out and make sure that we can, prove to people that we can grow Core Pixels with user base and revenue month on month using systems like this, and that we can grow Stacked and its usefulness month on month too. And again, all this is connected to the Pixel token, right? And this is kind of the key thing that we're thinking about here, right? So yeah, I would say for people who keep asking about like price and all this stuff with the token, again, I can't give any investment advice. I can't say that like the token's going to go up in price, anything like that. What I can say is the Pixel Foundation is still dedicated to building out products that advance the mission of expanding play to earn. And these products are core to that statement. And the opportunity is quite big, right? There are Web2 comparatives that are kind of doing play to earn. Like a good example would be a company like Mistplay. And I think Mistplay did something like $172 million in revenue last year. And our system is much deeper than any Mistplay system is currently out there, where essentially we can offer and create incentives for any part of the game loop. We have, automated testing, all of that. If you go and download these Web2 alternatives right now, you'll see that basically the only incentive that you get is just downloading a new app and then maybe getting to like a level. And it's not quite targeted. It's not very deep into the system. What's great about our system is that on the back end, it's kind of like an all-in-one platform. There's analytics, there's testing, there's automation, and there's really deep reward integrations that really make the experience actually play to earn rather than just like download to earn and like try to do an impossible goal. If you ever tried Mistplay, I have it downloaded, and they have incentives to go out and play Monopoly Go. I think you can't actually cash out until you hit like level or board like 64 in Monopoly Go, which would literally be like 40, 50 hours of work in Monopoly Go. And I got to level 4 and I got one bonus and I can't even cash out in Mistplay, right? So what's interesting about crypto and how crypto actually makes play to earn better and more interesting too is this idea of like instant cash outs as well. When we think about what are the benefits of crypto inside of the gaming ecosystem, to me, it's tokens, being able to play with token incentives to build a sustainable model. 2, it's ownership, right? If you do earn the Pixel token or VPixel or anything else out in here, you're getting access and ownership over a protocol in the network. basically what Pixel is in the long run. And I don't think people fully understand this vision. We're going to kind of like do a bigger marketing push to help people understand what we're building here in early January when all this stuff goes live. Is Pixel is a play to earn protocol and an ecosystem there. And truthfully, what you'll probably end up seeing is Pixel will likely turn to stake only over the next 6 to 12 months. It's going to take a little bit of time to get there. But what we want to do is we want to kind of like ease off emissions of Pixel when this is solved. So what's interesting about Stacked is the mission statement here is we want to solve play to earn in terms of real money. So we don't want to frame it in terms of tokens in the long run. And even think about when we start to work with other games that have other tokens, or or just Web2 games that want to give out US dollar rewards. If we are helping a Web2 game increase their revenue and we're taking a rake in US dollars, that is US dollar revenue that is going to help secure the protocol to get better data and to help grow this play to earn ecosystem and protocol that can be distributed to stakers, right? So long run, what we want to do is we want to switch ecosystem rewards to be in tokens that are not Pixel, start to ease Pixel emissions, and build out an ecosystem with that way. So again, if you're earning Pixel right now, I think it's a very interesting time, because if you're earning Pixel, we're probably not going to be giving out as much Pixel in the long run. Pixel likely will turn to a stake only token, stake and spend only token, and you'll start to see rewards for like contributing to the ecosystem, staking, voting with your staking power to turn into other token rewards also. Like, for example, if we were to work with a game like Axie Infinity, they were using our product to give out SLP, we would take a percent of the SLP and distribute that to stakers, right? So that's the Web3 native model to do it. The Web2 model is if we're working with a Web2 game and we're helping lift revenue, that's USD that can be converted into USDC and used to help secure this protocol and get the data that we need to scale incentives, scale users, scale spend. So that's kind of the TLDR of how all this stuff connects. So just to like recap, one is Stacked is a super exciting thing that the Pixel Foundation has been commissioned to go out and build, right? Stacked will power rewards for all the stuff that we're building out coming up, and Stacked will be crucial to the growth of core Pixels, basically helping us go out and acquire new users inside of the game, and for Chubkins as well, to start seeding the initial player base for Stacked, for Chubkins, for core Pixels. We'll also start to run traditional UA. So we're reserving a decent amount of capital to go out and do traditional paid advertising. Now, what's interesting is our paid advertising performance has been really, really good when we talk about rewards, right? When we introduce concepts with Stacked, where we actually have viable ways to go out and do user acquisition that are actually scalable and sustainable. When we actually go out and do user acquisition for Chubkins, it won't cost us money in the long run, right? Like, it's actually going to be profitable in a way that we can grow games and grow the ecosystem while not just burning through cash, right? That's been part of the core issue with a lot of Web3 ecosystems right now. Whenever they go out and try to acquire a user, their customer acquisition cost has been like $100 per user, right? And Chubkins, it's like $1.50 to $2.50, which is, very, very, very competitive. And every time that we acquire a user inside of Chubkins, it's a new user that we're onboarding into the Pixel ecosystem through Stacked and through these other systems, right? So it's kind of the TLDR of all of what we're thinking. Like, how can we continue to make core game better? How can we start to grow audience? And how we can build an ecosystem that really sustains itself and is growing month on month with fundamental metrics, right? So the metrics that we're going to be focused on across the ecosystem to determine how well we're doing will be things like revenue and revenue growing month on month, right? So once we get these things out, the game changes a bit. We're very excited. We'll make some more noise on crypto Twitter when this stuff is out. This is kind of the preview to the community who cares right now, to kind of understand the way that we're thinking about things and what we're building, right?
Okay. Hopefully I don't start like choking or coughing through all of this, but let's talk about core game update that went out yesterday, updates that are coming, holiday season stuff. There's a lot going on. Okay. So think of yesterday's update as like a necessary evil, and then also kind of like the start of a bigger update that's coming, which I can't leak too much of, but we'll see. We'll see what I'll leak, how much trouble I feel like getting in with our designers. Okay, let me share my screen here. We can just quickly look at the Substack or the Pixels post, sorry, that went out yesterday, because I think it's really important that everyone has seen this. There's an announcement in game, and there's, of course, the Pixels post. So I want to make sure our AMA watchers also know right now, for the next like month and a week or whatever, there are several items, all of these items, that you can trade in at the Seaside Stash on the dock for buoy bucks. So if you look at a lot of these items, almost all of them are from previous events, and they're just sitting stale. They're clutter. They don't need to be there anymore. And we, earlier this year, every time we started doing like a temporary event, at the end of the event, we would just archive all the items, because they just end up sitting in storage. And then everyone's like, when can I use this again? And it's like, never. So we're taking the initiative to clear out the storage chests and reward you all for some of them. Now, I do have to say that not every single item is on this list, and we just simply couldn't add every single item on this list, but there will be more items that are being archived at the end of January. So what I want to make sure is that all of you guys get as many buoy bucks as you can for all of these items that are listed here. Go and look at Substack. This is the complete list here. And then note that there are a few items that will not be archived. So sorry, I want to make it clear, these items will be archived on January 31st. So make sure you trade them in before then. You do have some time, but don't forget, tell your friends. And then these ones, of course, won't be archived. So those ones are okay. Heartbeat seeds were archived as of the update, I think yesterday. But the heartbeats themselves can still be traded in, and the heartbeats themselves won't be archived. Okay, so that's the update from yesterday. There were actually a couple other things. There was a forestry buff, which I saw people really excited for. I'm excited for. And then axe and shear durability rebalancing also went out. So yesterday's update, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty hype one. I recommend you go and read through this, and then go ahead and go and get your buoy bucks and whatnot. And then just make sure that you guys meet that timeline, okay? I don't want you guys to miss out. So with that, there is a bigger upcoming update, the animal care update, which we have alluded to for several weeks now, because Luke and I love to leak things well before they're ready to be leaked. There is an animal care update coming, probably like first week of Jan, I want to say. There's like a slight chance it could come before then, or even after. There's always a chance. There's always the 2 to 4 week gap, guys, right? But it's coming. It's coming very soon. In the next 2 to 4 weeks, I'm going to say. I think that's actually accurate when I say that. And what I'm going to leak to you guys is that it will involve buoy bucks. So why I said yesterday's update was kind of like the start of a bigger update is that it actually has something to do with the animal care update that's coming. With buoy bucks will be used in that update. And that's all I'm going to say for now. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Some other things that I've been debating whether I'm going to leak or not, but I think I'm just going to do it because 'tis the season. It's almost Christmas. I'm kind of sick and I just feel like being a menace. Okay. Tier 5 items and industries are on the way. Okay. You heard it here first. Designers just let me know that earlier today. And I was like, shouldn't tell me that right before an AMA. And there was a bit of discourse yesterday around pawns, which I understand. A lot of people were grinding for them and then able to buy them. And it was a bit of an unfortunate side effect of a necessary update that happened yesterday. However, I will say, this is another thing I'm going to leak and I'm probably getting in trouble for, is that, what's the wording? Hold on, I want to make sure I get the wording right. There might be possible deconstruction of pawns coming. And that's all I'm going to say with that. So there's a little bit more coming with that. Okay. That is kind of that big update, everything yesterday coming, animal care, all of that. Now, the elephant in the room of the holiday events. Yes. So I'm going to be clear. I've said this a few times. The holiday event is not going to be a massive carnival because that was insane. We will not be doing that. It was honestly like for my personal job, guys, it was very hard to even like put in, like I was hitting word count limits. There was too much going on. This year it's going to be chill. And last week, I think it was, I leaked that we're going to be doing something similar to what we do every year. And it's been marinating for a week, and all of you guys have already guessed it. Yes, there will be a Christmas tree. So then the next question is, oh my goodness, what color is it? And I told you I'm being a menace today, so I think I'm just going to leak a little. I took like a tiny screenshot. Tiny, so not the whole tree. The tree doesn't look the exact same as it did the last couple of years. I know it like just changed colors. This year it's actually a slightly different shape, form, like we redid it. But it's totally different in another way. I'm going to get in trouble for leaking this. Guys, I wish it was pink. I wish it was pink. You know what? Next year I'll take over. I'll fully take over. We'll have a pink Christmas. No, okay. This is, you're going to be your leak, and I'm only going to leave it up for like 2 seconds. Are you ready? Okay, you get it, right? Cool. That's it. That's all you get to know. I'm going to get in trouble for leaking that. Okay. I want to wait to see the comments. Because honestly, I don't know about you guys, but when I first saw that, like that stressed me out because how am I supposed to choose? You know, like I know I'm supposed to choose, but like how am I supposed to choose? You know what I mean? Like I okay. I also wanted to leak another thing because our artist popped off on this. It looks so good. So holiday event coming. Obviously, we will have a tree. There will be some ornaments. There'll be some quests. It'll be like fun and chill. It's already snowing in Terravilla. We are going to open up the carnival map. It will not be an active carnival. It'll be a closed carnival covered in snow and UGCs and just good vibes. So you guys can hang out there and just have a good time. There's also going to be a little store with some holiday themed items. And this is what I wanted to leak because artist popped off on this. It is so good. So you guys might remember or know we have like that giant pixel sign, and every once in a while we'll release a new color, a new vibe, a new theme, right? Look at the holiday one. Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen? Hold on, I need to zoom in on it. Oh wait, it gets fuzzy because I did not export a high quality version. Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen? So there will be a little shop with some fun holiday items available, this being one of them. I think this is my new favorite pixel sign ever, maybe. Yeah, and then on top of that, there are so many community-led events coming. So hold on, let me actually pull this up. Our community is hosting so many events. Like, make sure you guys read through this, mark your calendars. We also have them in Discord events and the in-game events calendar. So if you prefer to look at those, you can. But it's crazy. When I was sent the list, I was like, wait, but these are all so close to each other. And it's because this is like a third of them. Like there's so many happening. So if you, I know the holiday season, like we always talk about it as being like, oh, I'm with the family, I'm, you know, all this stuff. But for some people, it can kind of also suck. You know, like I'm not with my family because I live in Spain. So I'm going to hang out with you guys and we're going to have a great time together in the Pixels metaverse. So make sure you go mark your calendars, you know, Discord, hit that interest button on all of the events and see which ones that you can come hang out with the Pixels community over the holidays. There will be more posted on in Monday's announcement next week that will extend for the rest of the season. So yeah, that I think is all of the holiday stuff. Oh yeah, a couple other things I just quickly wanted to mention. Someone in chat earlier was like, give me VIP. We're actually giving away VIP right now if you engage with, hold on, I had it prepared. And then of course I exited the tab because why wouldn't I do that? If you engage with our recent post here, am I sharing my screen? No.
No.
If you engage with this post and follow Stacked on Twitter, you'll be entered to win. Like, why is it randomly bolding Twitter loves to randomly bold, and also because like the T was right next to the tag, it just didn't bold it. I don't know. Elon needs to get on it. But anyways, engage with this post, follow Stacked on Twitter, and you'll be entered to win VIP. So make sure you do that. We'll, I don't know, announce it maybe on Monday next week. And yeah, that's mostly it. I have a few creator posts that I wanted to highlight also, just because there's been such good stuff recently. We're like at the end already, and we haven't even gotten to questions. So I'll go through these pretty quickly. The epic finale of Bountiful by Slam Dunk Gaming here was fun video to watch. Zombina, as always, making really cute content for the snow coming to Terravilla. Bila posted all about the update that went out yesterday. So if you want this version instead of Substack, go ahead and read through here. He made like a fun little compilation video of all the things, getting the word out. We love to see it. And then Lale here posted, oh, I think this is about their event. Super fun stuff. Patty, it's in, I thought that was Spanish, but is this Portuguese? I think this is Portuguese. Whenever I read Spanish and I'm like, something's off, I think it's actually Portuguese. Yeah, and then more information about the update that came out yesterday here too. So shout out to our content creators. Go follow them all. They make really good stuff. And yeah, that's everything I got for you. Right, I made it right to the hour. So are you free for a couple minutes? We can look at some questions.
Yeah, let's go through some of these. I think it's worth doing like 15 minutes to go through some of these questions also. Yeah, let's bring some of them up. Somebody said, the 50-minute talk was like, why? Okay, so again, we have a bunch of people watch these AMAs, right? And I think something on a lot of people's minds is like, what is the ecosystem doing, right? Like, how does this involve token and all of this too? So, this is more of an AMA for those people to show you guys like, hey, like there's stuff that's fundamentally getting worked on that we believe leads to like a really great opportunity. And, these AMAs maybe are boring to some people, especially if you like, I wanted to bring back a lot of the stuff towards like, how this affects core game strategy, how the foundation is thinking about things in order to grow the ecosystem, right? It's maybe not as fun as like some of the game mechanic AMAs that we talk about, right? But there is new stuff coming soon. Like we have a big update coming by end of month, right? Around animal care. And, I'm excited for that one. This is more oriented around the people who, are caring about some of the metrics like growth, ecosystem price, market cap, all of this kind of stuff too. And it's an assurance that, Pixels is still here building the stuff we're building. We're very excited about, and we have a growth mindset towards the next stages, right? Like we know some of the stuff we've been working on has, had sparks of working. We know that there's not as many users playing the game right now. And we want to kind of explain to you guys why we're thinking about this stuff. We want to kind of explain to you guys what we're thinking about with the long-term of core game. And we want to assure that you guys that we're still super dedicated to like core game ecosystem as well. And there's shifts in strategy that we need to do in order to see the next phase of growth for the core game, right? I think everybody kind of agrees that the core game is more fun when there's more users and when things are working, right? So, this is a big bet that we're making and a lot of work that we've been doing to actually achieve growth for the core game. And, we're kind of giving you guys an insight on what we're thinking with growth too, rather than just going through game mechanics stuff. Not every AMA is going to be like this, but it is important to like go through these every now and then to kind of show you guys an behind the scenes peek on all the other stuff that we're working on, right? So that's the intention there.
Okay.
We provide more use for Pixel. Feels like bot coin farmers are killing the need to use bank for Pixel to coin conversion. So again, I think utility for the token is not how we're thinking about the long term of it, right? And this is why we're even interested in moving Pixel more to like stake only for this reason, right? Imagine if we, one, are able to tweak rewards in a way that are, net positive for the ecosystem. And two, imagine if we changed all of Pixel into like US dollars instead, right? We can still benefit the token in the ecosystem without thinking about token utility in the same way. Where the utility for the token is more like Pixel is a protocol token or a network token rather than the in-game token, right? So that's long term, probably where we're headed, but there's stages to get there, right? So we're more focused on the fundamental systems behind Pixel in the short to medium term, and building something that really uses the Pixel token as an ecosystem, which would be stacked, right? Rather than some of the short term stuff. But I agree, the core problem of like coin farmers and fraud and cyber attackers is a big one, and this is why we're thinking about stacked in the long run too, right? So if we can offer incentives in the right way that is a bit more anti-fraud, and in a more sustainable way through stacked, we're hoping to kill more of the issue there. Again, Pixel does a lot with anti-bot. We have many systems working in play at once: reputation, data science. We go and like purge bots really often, but there's still more work to do there, and that's kind of the core problem of building a play to earn game, right? And I think that kind of tied into a couple other things.
Yeah, you heard a few questions there.
Yeah, so one would be give out vPixel to all players so you can earn Pixel. So yeah, vPixel is going to be a bigger part of core Pixels most likely as well. vPixel is one really interesting method of rewarding players without harming token and ecosystem goals as well. Like basically having net emissions onto the token and ultimately harming token price and ecosystem. So when you start to see targeted offers in stacked and in pixels, you'll probably start to see more vPixel offers coming as well. And what's interesting about vPixel is we can give out more of it as well too. Another interesting thing as well too is sometimes we get comments saying burn Pixel. I think the more interesting thing versus burning Pixel would be converting sitting Pixel, because there's still a good amount if you track wallets in the ecosystem fund that we haven't fully distributed, because Pixels is actually kind of Roar's positive. So what's interesting is there's like a 28 million token incentive to give out tokens every single month. We actually do give out a large amount of tokens, but because Roar's is almost one, most of those tokens don't actually end up on exchanges or into the market. If you look at net withdrawals outside of Pixels, even it's like very, very small at this point, which is great. So the treasury of ecosystem is actually kind of growing month on month. It would be interesting to not instead burn that, but turn that into vPixel, right? So that would basically be saying, hey, this pixel can't be spent. It won't be able to be sent to exchanges anymore, but we can still give it out to users, right? So expect some stuff like that too.
Okay, I keep seeing. Okay, go ahead. You can. It's more important.
Are we on a path to Roars over 1 right now? Yes, we are, which is super exciting. Mm-hmm. How will Pixel's core game benefit from Stacked? So Stacked is already inside of core Pixels, right? It's the targeted offer system. So any offer that you see inside of core Pixels will actually also be available inside of Stacked. So technically, you won't even have to download Stacked if you don't want to, if you currently play core Pixels. But Stacked will work a little bit differently, where the Stacked specific rewards eventually will only be able to be cashed out in Stacked. So you'll be able to accrue the balance when you want to go and cash out. You'll have to go in Stacked. There won't be any special things you need to do. Like there won't be any KYC required instead of Stacked. Maybe we'll give like extra incentives if you do, but like that's not even planned in the first version coming out. So yeah, essentially Stacked is the smart offers that we're building out, and it's already inside of there. That was not the Stacked final logo. We're still kind of finishing up branding, but that probably is pretty close to how the app will look. When Chubkins for Europe? Okay, so Chubkins right now is in early access. We're not releasing it to everybody yet because there's still a lot of polish that needs to happen inside of the game. The game right now is okay from like current metrics right now. When we look at the day 1, the day 3, the day 7, it's okay. We think with these next updates, they'll get to a good spot. And that's when we can start to open up Stacked to more of the market, right? So the plan, or Stacked and Chubkins. So Chubkins, the plan is, when the metrics are looking good without the rewards, obviously we know when we start to add in rewards and incentivization, the metrics will increase a lot. They'll go from good to like amazing, essentially. It's already in the spot where we think if we turn on the rewards, it'll be like good. But we want to get to an even better baseline first. When we have the right metrics inside of Chubkins, then what we'll also start to do is we'll start to do, actual paid UA. Our paid UA is cheap enough now. We'll probably be able to get like hundreds of thousands of users through paid UA. And that push will start in the next year. When it's ready, it's close. But that's why we haven't opened it up to every market yet. Basically, we want to test with the small market first and open up globally next. Love the old item retirement idea, but trading them for buoy bucks caused heavy inflation. Merchant ships used to be a great loop, but contracts now feel unrewarding when some players hold 100k buoys. Yeah, this is always like some of the economic tweaking that we need to figure out, right? It's like, how do we encourage spend and like, use inside of a loop versus how do we respect old economy as well? Tricky problem set. This is something that we're trying to be more sensitive of. And yeah, if you guys have any like feedback or advice on, what we should do in the future, keep us updated. What I will say is this update did increase a lot of participation inside of a loop, which is net good, but there's still things to figure out with some of the reward balancing in the long run as well.
Can we exchange carnival tickets for bucks? No. The ownership of carnival tickets is so incredibly unbalanced. It's like like game breaking. So no, that will not happen. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know this for a fact, so yell at me. But I'm gonna assume that those are gonna get archived because that is a perfect example of like old event, item still hanging out that really doesn't need to be in game anymore.
Yeah. So one, I want to highlight Fableborn and how good of a job they've done recently. Their launch went really well. It's exciting to see that. We haven't seen a good launch in Web3 in a long time. So props to that team. And yeah, they have a lot of things that are working well. Somebody said in the comment, like Bot Nation isn't attacking Fableborn yet. Basically, there are only baby steps still compared to other games. What I'll say is like the longer a game economy that has real money attached to it is live, the more problems that will start to come, right? So I'm excited to see how they handle upcoming challenges. What we notice at Pixels, and this is why we're like kind of moving to the stacked framework, is anytime that we release new updates in the game, we get like a month maybe of bots not figuring out how to attack it, or Cybele farmers not figuring out how to attack it. After a month, that's when new stuff starts to come out, and that's when you start to see heavier farming. And then like 2 to 3 months is when you start to see saturation there. So yeah, there is a bit of a difference between having a game that's had an economy alive for years. Like look at EVE, look at RuneScape, right? Like you start to see a trend or a convergence to similar outcomes, right? This is why we're so bullish on targeted rewards and using some of the tech behind Stacked in the long term of all of these games for live ops. Can't I just VPN to another region and get better offer pricing? Probably won't work. As well as say like we have detection methods to see this kind of stuff. And also, even then, like there might be a scale of rewards, right? So if we have like a lower spend requirement for a particular reward, it might also come with a smaller reward as well too. What I'll say is like the whole point of the system is like we want to help people get rewards. We want to make it fair to all users. So that might mean scaling requirements with different types of users. And it's not really based on geography or systems, right? It's more based on behaviors that you have inside of the game. Use apps to get a non-token coin. Use coin for sync for Chubkin skins, or transfer balance of said coin to the Web3 app to convert to Pixel. Use in both Web 2 and Web 3. So I think they're asking or like trying to reiterate the strategy with Stacked. Yes, the idea with Stacked is we can give like a Web 2 currency, even to Web 2 games that can be converted into a cryptocurrency if they want. Long term with Stacked is we might even think about adding embedded wallets into Stacked eventually, but not really making it seem like a wallet to users. We're not doing that yet. So like current first version of Stacked, you will not be able to spend points. You'll just be able to redeem them. But probably V2 of Stacked will add in a shop where you can also spend all the points that you get inside of these games back into the games as well. We can kind of hack around that in the beginning stages. Like if we gave out vPixel inside of Stacked, for example, like that would be a token that they can't sell and only stake. And, we can still give out vPixel inside of Stacked if we want. But yeah, long run, I love the idea of you being able to spend your points in Stacked. And, we've been debating how crypto we want Stacked to feel. Like truthfully, what we might even do inside of Stacked is we might, put a survey at the beginning stages of like, how do you feel about crypto? If you don't like it, we might not even like mention the word crypto at all. But for the people that are interested or have some like inclination towards it, we're going to obviously push more. Cool thing about Stacked is we'll be able to offer on-chain rewards for on-chain activity when it comes out too. So, maybe we'll work with somebody like Ronin and give you incentives for even doing things on Ronin across the Ronin ecosystem in Stacked at the beginning stages as well. We'll probably run some pilots and tests just on ourselves regardless to do that.
So we do post recaps. We missed 1 week. I think it was when Luke and I were in Dubai, but honestly, that AMA could be scrapped. We were not ourselves that week. But we do post AMA recaps on the Pixels post under the AMA tab. So go check them out there.
Okay, nice. Will Stacked work with Cambria? So Stacked will be able to work with any type of game. Again,
Even
we do on
more than games.
Even more than games, yeah. So the initial beachhead market for this is games, but like Stack could work for anything, right? Like it could work long run. Like if you're shopping in a store, we might be able to give you a reward, for example. Like random things like that, doing surveys. But yeah, it should be able to work for anything. And that's kind of what we're building in the long run and like the long-term vision. We want to be able to create a new type of ad network of rewards for anything that you do. But games are the easiest and the hardest way to solve it. So if we solve this for games, solving it for all this other stuff becomes so much easier. Like if we solve this for games, we have the economics and the systems figured out for anything. And then adding the other stuff is kind of just sales. Like we'll show, a store like Target, maybe not Target, but like, you work your way up. A store like Whole Foods, like, hey, we know if we give people rewards to go and shop at your store, that you'll earn money as well. Like, let us give rewards to our users to go shop there, put some money into Stacked. We have like some of the revenue made there as rate go to support the Stacked and Pixel ecosystem. And you might get rewarded for the stuff that you already do as well. So that's kind of a long-term vision, like what Stacked is supposed to be. Stacked at its like purest intention is supposed to be like the earn money app, basically. What else?
I think we've covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But did you know Pixels is dead? Because it's not a pink tree. Damn. I mean, I agree.
Any other final questions? We went a little bit over time. Stacked will be the umbrella rewarding more VPixels, and Pixel will become deflationary. I mean, end goal. So here's the end goal for the token. Essentially, like we do want to stop giving it out in the long run, right? That's always kind of been the intention. And I don't care so much about deflationary when I think about, how the Pixel ecosystem grows and achieves its goal of expanding play to earn. Token price does play a little bit into it, right? So token price, when we have the Pixel token, allows us to do more user acquisition, right? If we were to give out Pixel, and it gives us more user acquisition power in terms of real marketing power, right? So the ideal situation is that we can grow the ecosystem sustainably and, be able to distribute rewards, not in the native token, but any token that is, being used to help further the protocol, or any token that's being spent inside the protocol, which might be USDC, it might be, SLP or Ronin, it might be other tokens as well. But that's the idea.
Okay. Any last comments, questions you wanted to? Obviously, we've gone over a lot today.
When Pixel go. So yeah, again, with core Pixels, a lot of what I'm thinking right now is how do we start to grow the game again and expand the audience again? And I think we do need a friendlier version for new users that's more simple and, has the best parts of core game in it and more accessible to users earlier on with simpler UI and, easier ways to get them hooked into the best parts of it. Okay, and I think we went through a lot today. I hope this was a helpful AMA for you guys to kind of understand the way that we think about things, how we're thinking about the ecosystem. I hope like for our core community here that attends these AMAs, this gets you a little excited about the next steps and like gets you some insights into the way that we think and what we're trying to do here. And yeah, we'll continue to release fun updates inside the core game. And we're going to start to integrate Stack more and more into core Pixels as well. And you're going to start to see these releases come out most likely in January. So excited. Thanks for everybody who comes to these AMAs. It's always a very nice time to share what we're working on with you guys. Obviously, I get super excited. You can still see that we're very passionate about Pixels and the ecosystem. And yeah, I hope you all enjoy your days. For you, those of you staying up in the Philippines, we appreciate you staying up so late with us. You should get some sleep. And yeah, have a good day, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, all the things, and we'll see you in the holiday events. Bye, guys.